Welcome to Finding Elara, a safe space where authors, artists, and creatives share their world-building style and mindfulness tactics. Brought to you by Bushland Castle Productions, a micro-publisher with an author support platform that nurtures creative growth and storytelling excellence.
Welcome to the 100th episode of Finding Elara. This is going to be a little different from the normal season episodes. In this episode, I'm going to be interviewing Dianna, your regular host, asking questions that have been submitted by listeners as well as some of the ones she asks her guests. A lot of you don't know me, so allow me to introduce myself. Hi there, I'm Izzy. I work behind the scenes with Dianna on the audio editing and content editing for the podcast. I'm currently studying a Bachelor of Music and am putting some of my skills to use with helping out on Finding Elara. I was very much out of my comfort zone doing this interview, but had fun anyway. DL next. Dianna is an author, podcaster, and publisher from the Wheatbelt of Western Australia. Starting her podcast, Finding Elara, in 2018 to build connections while waiting to hear back from an agent helped her develop her writing skill set. She is now actively working on her Elarian stories and several smaller fantasy tales. Additionally, she has created some low-content books and creative non-fiction. She is a founding member of a new publishing company, Bushland Castle Productions, with a small team in 2024. This company has a unique quest to publish a themed novella series every year, starting with the Otherworldly Emergence Series. Married for almost 2 decades and mothering 3 unique personalities has kept her imagination alive. The worlds created within the sanctuary of her home office and caravan have inspired her to revisit them on a regular basis with a cup of tea at the ready. I hope you enjoy this very special 100th episode. Hi, I'm interviewing the founder of Finding Elara, Dianna. Hi, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you today?
I'm good. Now, the question that you always ask everybody, how did you find your way onto the creative path?
Going straight into the questions. I like it.
Absolutely.
A lady on a mission.
Absolutely.
So I've always really enjoyed writing and creating things. And I found when I've done different jobs, so I've been in retail, I've been in the mines, I've been in quite a few different areas, I always divert back to creating new things, so writing poetry, short stories or something like that to keep my creative brain active. So it's something I've just always enjoyed. I started writing novels when I was probably 18. I was over in Melbourne for a extended holiday sort of work thing, and I had a friend over there who introduced me to NaNoWriMo. So my first manuscript I wrote as part of NaNoWriMo, and I completed that 6 times. And I now have my novella for the Otherworldly Emergence Series, is my newest one.
Amazing. Always coming back to the creative path. Well, how did you start Finding Elara?
After I'd finished writing several books with Nano, I thought I want to go to that next step. So I did a lot of research. I joined Romance Writers Australia because I have romantic elements in my stories. I wouldn't say any of my stories themselves are romance, but I have romantic elements. So I joined RWA and I went to their conference over in Sydney, and I pitched for one of the stories to be published with an agent. So they liked my pitch, and while I was waiting for the response, I thought this could take ages. Like, waiting for a response from an agent is agonizing. So I thought, in the meantime, I really enjoyed listening to podcasts at the time. I thought, hey, I can do that. So I taught myself and started Finding Elara Season 1 in 2018.
Amazing. And you started instantly asking authors how they got into their creative path?
A lot of the podcasts I was listening to at the time, they generally had topics. So, like, you'd talk about a topic and then you'd interview someone around that topic. So when you hear something good, you sort of want to try and emulate it a little bit. So my idea for the first series was to do that, like have a topic. So just me and then interview, then just me and then interview. But there was a lot of logistics involved in having the interview episodes. you had to phone people on Skype, and then they had to record on Audacity on their end, and I had to record on Audacity on my end, and then we had to have Dropbox. So they had to send their file from the recording over onto Dropbox, and then I had to merge them all together to finish it. So it was quite complicated back then.
Very long-winded.
Yeah, and the internet back then was not always favourable anyway. So after I had my hiatus and decided to come back, I did a lot of research into the plethora of platforms they have available for remote podcasting, and I tried, was it Wave Room was the first one? I tried, well, pretty much all of them. I landed on Riverside because it was within my price range, and I did several trial runs and I didn't have any faults with it, so Riverside was the winner in the end. And it's so much easier.
I remember going through the process with you of all the different platforms and seeing if we could put anything together, and then doing all the test runs, and there's a lot of different platforms out there that just didn't know existed.
Yeah, and some of them were a bit hit and miss. So you'd be recording and then you wouldn't get the video, or you wouldn't get the audio, and it's just a video file. And we wanted to make sure that we could always take out that file, the MP3 file, from whatever program we're using, so you could put it into your platform for the audio editing. And because I was already comfortable with Audacity, I wanted to be able to pull it out and actually do my editing that way if I wanted to. You can edit in this though if you wanted to. I'm just not really keen on that myself.
Why change when you're comfortable with something else? Yeah.
I am looking at potentially doing more on the YouTube space going forward in 2026. So when I do that, I'll be probably just doing stuff on Riverside and then just posting them directly from there.
So you talked a bit about the first season and how pretty much your goal with that was to fill time between, waiting for a response. What's your goal with Finding Elara now?
I think that every creator has a unique perspective on first why they started creating, what they're creating, how they create, how they stay sane while they're creating. So my goal for season 2 was to have a focus on mindfulness and world building, which I will continue through. So on the mindfulness side, it's just seeing how people do what they do and really validating people's experiences, because if you're listening to an interview of someone who doesn't plot, is not a discovery writer, and they have to do 20 drafts to finish a story, that makes your 7 drafts sound so much more palatable. Whereas you interview someone, they're like, oh, I just do 1 draft, send it through the editors, and then the book's live. We want to hear behind the scenes of that process, what it was actually like. Did you sit down and write 5 hours a day? Did you have to snatch 5 minutes here and there while the baby was sleeping? There's so many different stories that I've heard on this journey. It just makes you understand that everyone is so different. And with the world building side, I just think world building is amazing. It just fascinates me. It's just one of those things that I just love hearing about, how people do it, why they do it, some of the thoughts that have gone behind some of the decisions that they've made in their books. I just think that's really fascinating. Not one person that I've interviewed so far has the same process for world building or mindfulness.
Which is amazing. I mean, interviewing so many people and none of them have the same.
Yeah, and I've interviewed pretty much all of season 3 already, and still I can say none of them are the same, which is really good.
Speaking of season 3, what's the difference between all of the seasons?
Season 1, as I said, was my talking for a bit and then interview, and then my talk and then interview. And I didn't have a set format for the questions. It was just pretty much a chit chat with the authors. We connected and we just had a conversation about craft. And then season 2, I made sure I sent out all my questions in advance, and I had more of a rough formulaic approach for it. Season 3, I was stuck with sending them the questions. I think people really appreciate having that advance notice, and they're less off-put when you're interviewing them. And I've tried to, on the world building episodes, I've tried to really develop that live play aspect, getting their character to come in and describe their room, because we're an audio podcast, and I just really enjoy that. I mean, don't think I'll ever be a good DM, but it's fun. It's just a little bit of play.
For context, DM as in Dungeons and Dragons and Dungeon Master and the whole role play situation thing.
Correct, yes.
Why the gap between season 1 and season 2? It was quite a long time. How come the gap?
So I was really enjoying writing, and developing. The agent did not choose to take on my book. She said I needed to develop my craft further and I needed money. So I went back into the workforce. So I tried continuing the pod a little bit while I was working, but you really get swept away when you're in a full-time position. And I had 3 kids. So 3 little kids, full-time jobs, it just fell to the wayside. When I returned, it was because my kids are now pretty much all grown up. I've got 18, 20 and 22 this year. So I'm actually moving into my empty nester phase, which is a bit scary.
It'll leave you more time to do some writing and podcasting though.
Yes, definitely a lot more time to focus on your own personal desires when you're moving into that phase. I know my hubby has a lot of plans for his creative relaxation, more time in the caravan.
So, what's your biggest inspiration for the show?
For the show concept in total or from one of the interviews?
For the show concept in total.
I don't think there's any one thing. I wanted to interview people and ask questions that I was interested in hearing the answers to, and I couldn't find that with the other podcasts I was listening to. So I listened to a fair few podcasts. You've seen my list. It's quite extensive, yes. The amount of podcasts. And yeah, there's things I wanted to know from the authors and the creatives that I just wasn't getting those answers to. So my inspiration is I want to know how they got into that creative path and how they actually work on their world building and develop that.
Does that help you in your own creative path in what you're doing all the interviews?
I think it definitely helps with my motivation. If I am feeling a little bit creatively drained, there's a lot of discussions that I've had with the people on the show where, like, I have the quote from Elizabeth Chaffin on my wall, "The way to it is through it."
Amazing.
So I look up at that and I'm like, the way to it is through it. So even if I'm having a hard day, just going through it and just remembering some of those conversations. Everyone goes through this. Everyone has these lulls and everyone has these highs. I also listen to a lot of self-help and self-development and leadership podcasts and read a lot of those sort of books as well. And you've got to try and balance your day around when you're having a high energy day. Make it easier for you when you're on those low energy days. So having those interviews to look back on, I think, is really inspiring.
I always audio edit the podcast, but and maybe I need to start putting quotes from the podcast up on my wall as well.
Well, I wanted to put quotes from every episode out, sort of like as advertising and promotional work, but it wasn't as easy to get back into it as my brain was telling me it should be. So maybe season 3, I'll aim to try and get some quotes out from my favourite quotes from every episode and get them out there on socials and send them to you, see how they go.
That's actually a pretty good idea, though you are a very busy woman.
That I am. Well, Gary is our social guru guy. He generally puts together all of the covers for the episodes and he does the quotes and the social media stuff for the Finding Elara podcast group. And yeah, he was doing the quotes to start with, but I was sending him what the quotes were. So I might need to ask him really nicely and say, hey, can you pick a quote or two and see where we go from there? We'll have my quote and his quote or something.
Oh yeah, that'd work out. Hopefully anyway.
I'd imagine they'd be quite diverse. His selection and my selection would be very different.
Along your podcasting journey, what lessons have you learned?
I have a series of emails that I have to send out to all of the guests, and I have guest release forms, and one of the biggest lessons I've learned is not sending all of those emails the day before the interview. It's really important that they have the information in advance, and I have fallen behind on that on a couple of occasions. So it's just organisation and planning and development that I've learned a lot from this show, which I think has helped with my project management with Bushland Castle Productions.
As somebody who actively works with you, I'd say yes. I'd say your time management and lack of procrastination has gotten better over the time.
Thank
yes.
you.
Now, despite knowing the answer to this next question, I'm still going to ask you anyway. Who are some of your dream guests?
Of course, there's Brandon Sanderson. He's my number one guest that I would like to have on the show. And his team actually got back to me.
Really?
So I send out my dream requests at the start of every season. So I've 2 spots left for season 3. And if there's a time where we line up, you will hear a Brandon Sanderson interview. Kevin Hearn, of course. Kel Cade. So maybe it is Brandon Sanderson, Kel Cade, and then Kevin Hearn. That's my dream list.
Amazing.
If I could get those 3 on the show, my heart would explode. I'd be so happy.
And you've heard back from Brandon's team?
Yes, and then I sent through a time and it didn't match. So I don't know if I'm just meant to continue to send through different times until we find a time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. If you want him on the show, be like, I can do any time you want.
Yeah, I'm flexible. I don't care if it's 1 o'clock in the morning in Western Australia.
Exactly. Just get up and do. Yeah, of course. Though I can't say you would sleep much the night before if you got to interview him. I'm sure it would be excitement buzzing constantly.
Oh, he's so prolific. The amount of books that he's written, what he's done with Dragonsteel Publishing, he's such an inspiration. I watched all of his videos on YouTube and just sounds like a really great bloke in general. So if he's listening, I really want to have him on the show.
Another question that you ask your guests, what does mindfulness mean to you?
See, there's the generic answer that you can find on Google. What is mindfulness? But I think creative mindfulness is what I like to hear the answers about. So within your creativity, how are you mindful about what you're doing and moving forward? So I think that includes things like accountability, making sure you're not too stressed, considering critique versus criticism when you're reading the reviews. It's trying to find a balance with your personal life and your creative life. So with writing specifically, it's understandable when you're falling into the world that you're creating that you need to put mindfulness aside. A few of the authors that I've discussed this with, they do that. They're like, mindfulness is not even on the cards when they're creating specifically. So I think mindfulness comes into account a lot more afterwards when you're editing, when you're, reading the reviews, when you're putting together the whole book package afterwards. And I think it's really important to ask them, like, what does mindfulness mean to you? Because if you don't get that waystone of what mindfulness means to them, when they're talking about other things, you're not going to see it from their perspective. And I think while I'm interviewing them, it's all about them. It's not what I think, it's what they think.
Another question that you normally ask, how do you start your world building?
I generally start with a vibe. I'm very much a discovery writer. I have tried, especially with this most recent story that I've just finished, I've tried to plot it. I've tried to write a synopsis in advance, but I feel that if I'm not experiencing it as I'm writing it, I tend to get distracted and lose a lot of my motivation. So I'm discovery writer. I spend a lot of time thinking about the world. I don't necessarily write it all down, but my world building is very much starting with just the vibe. This is what I'm after. So with my book that I'm currently working on, which has a working title called The Final Crone. So with The Final Crone, Edith, my main character, is a witch, and I know exactly how she comes toward her demise, and I wanted her to have that huge love interest, the big love, and then have that snatched away. So that was the vibe I had at the very start, and then I built that story around that.
Did you extensively do world building, or did you just kind of, only plot out what would be in this book as opposed to, because I know some people will do like a whole thing of like world building and background and everything and might not necessarily include it in their writing. Do you do that, or do you only include what do you only make what's going to actually make it into the book?
I definitely over world building. There's a podcast called World Building for Masochists. I fall into that category. I went all the way back to 1947. I had numerology done for my characters. I developed the magic systems and the rules and the shielding, and I did a lot of world building in the background, and about 2% of it will make it into the book.
Well, along with running your Finding Elara podcast, you also run BCP. Tell us a bit about that.
So I started Bushland Castle Productions in October 2024. It was very fluid in the beginning. I suppose it's sort of like my writing process. Like, I had the vibe, I knew what I was after, what I was thinking about. I collaborated with a few people that I know online from this bookish world, and I tried to find an avenue that supported novella series in the speculative fiction realm. So I couldn't actually find what I was looking for, and I thought, hey, I'm going to create that and let's give that a go. So I expanded that idea, did a business plan, started an actual company. So it's actually a registered company with shares and everything, and so there's a lot of background work. I have experience in small business. I used to run a new age gift shop with practitioner rooms down in Collie. We did that for 7 years before I moved up to Southern Cross, and so I know a lot of the business back end stuff already. So that was really handy building the company, but it is a lot more involved than I originally anticipated, so I had to do further learning and education over this last year and a bit, and the concept and the plans have pretty much started to solidify into what I want it to be. And I think while you're forming and developing something like this, you need to make sure you're not stringent on exactly what you want to do until it's time to make it formal. You know what I mean? So
Yes.
I wanted to do a novella series with 26 books, themed Otherworldly Emergence for my first series. We ended up having 17 books in total to start with, and we now will be publishing in August 13 books for the series plus a reading journal, so 14 books in total. So we started 20. We've got to be flexible to be able to make those changes and adjust as we go along. One of the biggest things that I've noticed in publishing today is that author support isn't what I anticipated it to be. So in my mind, if I got picked up by one of the big publishers, I'd have someone to talk to and help me through the process. I'd have an editor that I could talk to about my story and help with the little bits as I go along. I'd have people on call, like, you're with that publisher, so you're a part of that publisher. So that author support is something I thought was normal, but it turns out that's just movies, and
that doesn't actually happen in real life. Yeah.
No, it doesn't. So I want that to happen in real life. So with Bushland Castle Productions, I have several contractors that I use as part of my business plan. That there's a book coach for people that are accepted within the series. So they have 5 sessions with a book coach while they're doing their writing and development. They have access to the editors that we have available in the series. And yeah, I want that support available. So I want to help them through it. So on top of that, we also have accountability meetings, mindset meetings. We have an online platform that's sort of like Facebook sort of thing, but it's on Wix. We call it Bushland Squires. So the Bushland Squires, we have like a team messenger system that we can talk to each other. We have monthly meetings that are focused on something we're currently working on with the book. So we had a specialist collaborator come in, we had an editor come in, we've had an audiobook creator come in. Just whatever we're focusing on, how we're creating this series right now, I bring someone in and say, hey, can you please talk to my group about it? And yeah, the plan is to just provide author support and encouragement and help them from pitch to prose to publication.
Supporting them as much as possible through the whole process.
Yes, I wanted to help myself too. So I'm putting a book out in this first series. And for me, accountability is huge. So we have write-ins 4 days a week on Discord. So on the Mondays and Wednesdays, it's 3 to 5 p.m. AWST. And on the Tuesdays and Thursdays, it's 10 to 12. And we're on Discord, and it's like buddy writing. We're writing together, we set up sprints, and it's just been really helpful to have someone there, but not actually in my space.
Yeah, just somebody to virtually support you and be there if you get stuck, or just hold you accountable to actually writing and not procrastinating.
Yeah, and between each sprint, we normally talk about what we're up to, and if we have any questions that are burning in the background, we're like, hey, what do you think about this? And, it doesn't have to be people within BCP that join the Discord. We have people outside as well. It's just really good to chat with people who are in that same mind space.
Oh, that's really cool. Well, talking about all of that, how has your journey been so far overall with the podcast and the BCP? How have you felt that your journey's been so far?
It's been expansive, interesting. I'm really excited about what's going to happen going forward, I generally wake up thinking to myself, oh, what can I do to help push this forward? How can I develop this? How can I make this work better? How can I set this up so that in the future I can have people come in and work with me? So working on systems, developing systems, working on my stories, working on project management and development, there's always something different to do. So I'm never bored.
Very much entrepreneurial mindset.
Yes. So you can say I am a writer, podcaster, company director, or you can just say I'm a creative entrepreneur.
So then, with all of that and all of the things that you've listed, which is an extensive list of things that you do as BCP and even in Finding Elara, talk us through a day behind the scenes. What's a day look like for you?
I tend to try in rabbit ears because, I'm like, I try to plan my week. So usually on the Sunday, I'll sit down and look, what have I got going on this week? How is this going to work? I have a rough idea of what I want to put on socials. That very rarely sticks. If I have any interviews, they would take about an hour and a half, 2 hours for the show. I have a lot of meetings with my squires because I'm very big on author support. I'll just tell them whenever they want to talk or anything, they just book it in and I'll have a chat with them as the publisher. I have my write-ins. I know going forward over the next couple of weeks is going to be a pretty strong focus on season 3 for Finding Elara. And we're at the second round of editing phase for the Otherworldly Emergence Series. So I need to start focusing on getting something out for the Otherworldly Origins series, which is our next one that'll open in July. So a lot of planning, a lot of whatever is urgent, that's what I'll do first. And I have my laptop and my tablet and a microphone in my caravan and at home, so it doesn't matter where I am, I can still work, which is fantastic.
Amazing. Never resting, always working.
Well, no, not so much. I have a small team of supporters, including yourself.
Including me, yes.
And my husband has told me he doesn't appreciate it when he comes home from work and I'm still working. So, because I normally start when he leaves. So during the week when we're at home and he's on his day shifts, as soon as he's home, I'm off. When he's on R&R, it's different.
Then you kind of have to work during the day and he doesn't.
He likes to rub that in too.
Don't I know it? Going forward, what's your plans for the future for the company, for Finding Elara, for you? What's the plan?
Well, with Finding Elara, I have season 3 pretty much in the bag, unless I get these dream guests, add them in. And
of course.
And I plan on getting them out all before August, because in August I have the release of Otherworldly Emergence, hopefully, if everything goes to plan. So my first novella series will come out in August, so I want to have the series 3 of Finding Elara finished by then, and then when I do the Otherworldly Emergence release, I'll be doing special episodes with my squires, which I think will be lots of fun. You might have to interview me again.
That's fine. I can do that.
And then I have been asked to go back to the Indie Author Book Fair again in November. So it'll be interesting to see how I can improve upon the original version that we did. We borrowed a lot of things for our first live stream because we weren't sure how it was going to go or how exactly we were going to work it. But we want to set up a proper rig for us to go around if we're going to make this a regular thing. And the theory behind it was I do the live stream and then we just chuck together minor editing, chuck together the interviews, the excerpts, the bios, and just put it out in the world. Unfortunately, there were a few hiccups and it didn't really work out that way. So the Indie Author Minisode series was a little bit more extensive in the editing phase. So we want to make...
Don't I know it?
So we want to make that a lot easier next time. I'm actually considering, and I know we've talked about this a bit, is asking the authors if they want to read their own excerpt. So set up like a little recording station there and just say, hey, do you want to read your excerpt? And then we'll have the intro and bio, the interview, and then they read their own excerpt, and then we have the end. So that would be a lot less work.
Yes, and then the authors could read it how they want it to be read.
Yes, because I'm not a narrator. I have a new appreciation for narrators because I did okay. I got the words out, but there was no character voices or passion behind it or anything. So unless we meet a narrator who's willing to help for free with the Indie Author Book Fair series, then yeah, we'll have to reassess that.
But you listen to a lot of audiobooks. So
I do.
So I thought that you would have had a bit of fun doing the excerpts and trying it out for yourself.
The content within a lot of the books as part of the Indie Author Book Fair series were a bit more salacious than my usual
tastes
reads.
Yeah.
So I felt uncomfortable upon reading some of them, but I still did it.
Amazing, you got through it.
I'm very proud of me. I think if I had a lot more time to read and practice, then I probably would have gotten better. And I think I was much better by the end of the series than I was at the start. But again, this is our first time doing it, so hey, we did what we did.
Of course. Now, moving on to your much anticipated part of the questions, the fast fire questions. I haven't told you the fast fire questions in advance because I thought it would be unfair because you don't tell your guests the fast fire questions in advance. So I didn't tell you. Are you ready?
I am ready.
No taking pauses. The first thing that comes to your mind.
Okay.
Question 1. What is your dream holiday destination?
France. Which is weird because I don't think it is actually France, but that's what came to my head. So.
I don't think it's France, but... Right. Question 2. What's your favourite colour?
Green.
Knew that. What's your favourite fairy tale?
Rosekin.
What would you prefer to live near, beach or river?
River.
And then finally, what's your favourite thing to draw, moon or sun?
Sun, because of the triangles.
Oh, you don't do squiggly lines off of it?
No, I do the triangles and then the alternating triangles. Yeah.
Oh, I see. Very nice. Well, look at you go. You made it through the fast fire questions.
Yay!
So, then, final question of this very special 100th episode. Are you planning on coming out with any more published works after this one?
Well, I have the elusive Elara story. It's currently sitting on a massive 170k words. I edited it last year and did a combination of the several drafts I had for it. So I've merged it into one massive story. When I originally wrote it and pitched it to publishers, it was written as a YA. So I wanted to change it into an adult fiction because there's a lot of gritty realities that I wanted to face in the story that I really couldn't do if it was a YA.
Yeah.
So eventually, no time frame, I will get that book out.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for letting someone else interview you for once. And I hope you have a great day. And then we'll see you back in season 3.
Thank you so much for taking the time to interview me, Izzy.
If you're enjoying the show, then you can show us some support by sharing us with a friend and interacting with us on social media. If you want to go a step further, you can buy us a cuppa. Head over to ko-fi.com/finding Elara. That's ko-fi.com/finding Elara. There is an option to buy us a cup of tea for $2, or you can join the Shadow Layer for $5 a month, where you receive exclusive content and advanced information about the show. If you would like to get in contact with Dianna or the team at Bushland Castle Productions, then she is on TikTok and Instagram as @FindingElara. There is a Discord channel and Facebook group called Finding Elara Podcast. The Bushland Castle Production team is on Discord, Instagram and Facebook as BCP Creative, or you can check out the website bushlandcastleproduction.com for the most up-to-date information. The music is brought to you by @Keys of Moon Music and is called The Epic Hero. If you enjoyed listening to Finding Elara, have any questions, or just want to share your world with us, then please get in touch. Until next time, keep up the search for your Elara.